During tonight's meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on Council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection, Councillor Florence Chauvedet will take over for me. I would like to remind all participants a few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any additional information other than their allocated time to speak, they must use raise hand function so that they are not missed. I would also like to ask members to use their members to keep your questions and comments brief to the point. And now I go to apologies. Item 1, apologies for absence, none was received. Item 2, declaration of interest. Do members have any declaration of interests?
No, Chair.
No, Chair.
Thank you. Item 3, Sainsbury, 4850 Shepherd's Bush Road. I would like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourselves. As I call on you, I'll call your first name and you introduce yourself. We have Robert here with us. Robert?
Yes, sorry, I'm just practicing with the buttons. Yes, I'm here.
It's okay. We have Joanne, licensing manager for Sainsbury. Joanne?
Yes, good evening, Chair.
Thank you. We have Lona McCann, licensing officer.
Yes,
Lona?
present, Chair.
Okay. We have Christina, licensing officer as well. Perez?
Present, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Emmanuel, the council's legal officer.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Now, objecting, we have James, resident. Is James here?
Yes, I am.
James, is it possible? Thank you, James. We have Karen, resident. Is she here? We have Sarah Richard. Is Sarah here? Okay, we have Councillor Daly, the ward councillor. So,
I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, procedure. In addition to the main agenda, a supplementary agenda containing additional information from the applicant was published on the 9th December 2024. Before we consider the application today, please, may I quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow. We hear from the following. The licensing officer will introduce the application, the objectors, the ward councillor, finally the applicant. Usually each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party for other persons present at the hearing. Except committee members, no party has the right to ask questions or other parties at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their cases of representation. The committee will then retire for deliberation. Upon its return, the committee's decision, I will announce committee's decision. Presenting officer, can I ask the presenting officer to present the application? That is Lona.
Thank you, Chair. So on the 20th of September 2024, the licensing authority received a valid application for a variation to the premises licence in respect of the premises known as Sainsbury's, 4850 Shepherd's Bush Road, London, W6 7PH, which was submitted on behalf of Sainsbury's Supermarkets Limited, the applicant. The premises does currently benefit from a premises licence which permits the following licensable activity. The sale of alcohol off the premises only, Monday to Sunday between the hours of 11 AM till 11 PM. There's no restrictions currently on the opening hours. The applicant has applied to vary the hours for the sale of alcohol off the premises only as follows: this Monday to Sunday between the hours of 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. The applicant had not proposed any additional steps to promote the 4 licensing objectives if the application is granted this evening. During the consultation period, the licensing section received 35 representations objecting to the licence application. 1 representation was received from Councillor Daly and 34 from local residents, all who objected to the grant of the variation application. On the 9th of December 2024, a supplementary Agenda A was circulated to all parties, which contained additional information from the applicant. The applicant has confirmed that they wish to amend the application as follows: that the sale of alcohol between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. shall be able to facilitate online sales only, and from 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. the sale of alcohol will be for members of the public. I would also like to note that information was submitted this evening by Councillor Daly, which was admitted in error from the main agenda of the committee papers. This information has now been circulated to all interested parties, including the applicant, objectors, legal and members of the committee prior to the beginning of this hearing. However, due to the last-minute nature of the circulation, I would request our legal team and committee members to consider whether it be necessary to temporarily adjourn the hearing in order for all parties to have time to read this information. Thank you, Chair.
Can I ask our legal officer an advice on this? Because I haven't seen the note.
Chair, I haven't seen it either. How many pages is it, Lorna?
It's 1 page. It's Councillor Daly's. It was the additional information from her original representation. She has sent it to members. I've forwarded it to all other parties, including the applicant and the objectors. I can re-forward it to members of the committee. It's a 1-page A4 document.
Okay.
Can you forward it to members of the committee and Emmanuel, please?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay. Before then, can I hear from Robert? He's raised his hand.
Yeah, thank you. I've read the letter from Councillor Daly. It came in 2 minutes before the hearing. It does refer to the concerns about the early sale of alcohol at the premises, and we've amended the application now significantly. And I would hope that that the council will be satisfied with the application as amended, because we will only be starting to sell alcohol at the store from 9 a.m. and not from 7 a.m. So I hope that eases matters today, and that we don't need an adjournment. But Councillor Daly may wish to comment.
Can we have our legal advisor to advise?
I think in terms of an adjournment, it would just be a 5-minute adjournment so members could read the paper. But that would need to be agreed by the chair. But I'll ask Emmanuel to confirm.
Yes, if all the parties agreed that the submission should be accepted, then it's fine, and we can have a 5-minute adjournment just for the committee members to review it shortly, and then come back to resume the meeting.
Okay.
I've just forwarded the document.
It just came in now.
And
It just came in now. Committee member, would you like us to have 5 minutes to read this, or do we have to continue? Because we always emphasize on having people send in things the last minute.
Sorry, Chair, it was an error that I omitted it from the main agenda of the committee papers. It should have been included. It was sent well within time.
Chair, can I suggest, since we have Councillor Daly with us, perhaps she might want to set out the contents of her letter in her unlimited time, I understand.
Okay, that is acceptable.
Chair, I have actually read the 1 page, and whilst it's obviously very important, I don't think it necessarily brings very much new that the other representations hadn't already brought us. So I would agree. I would have thought that we could probably consider her representation during her oral part. We will, during deliberations, have time to review it physically. I don't think we would be at a loss to be doing it in that way.
Okay. Okay. In that case, okay, Robert, you put your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not very good at Zoom, so I'm getting the hang of it. Would it be useful if I know Lorna has mentioned the amendment to the application, but it is really important, and I know everybody will have other things to do this evening, and I would hope that the changes to the application will satisfy other parties here tonight, because I know you hear the objectors first and then the applicant. I thought it'd be really useful if I just again outline the changes that we've made, so it's understood by everybody.
Yes.
Yes, I was just going to say, you will have time during your submissions to set out the changes, and the committee will take that into consideration when making a decision. So once it reaches your turn, I believe you have at least 25 minutes to set out the changes and make any submissions you need to make. So that will be taken into consideration before a decision is made.
Yeah.
Chair, for now, I think you need to decide whether you would like
I think
for 5 minutes or should we proceed?
I think we should proceed, and then
Okay.
yeah, we should proceed. So in that case, and as Lorna has already introduced the case, so can I ask James, the resident, 5 minutes to tell the committee what you want to do?
Well, I think there's obviously a significant change when the licensing has gone from 7 o'clock in the morning, which is what, as far as I'm aware, all of those with whom I spoke objected to, and it moving to being online sales only. I presume that's by Deliveroo or something similar, and not coming out of the premises itself. As you say, it's not a pedestrian traffic that's going to be buying, but 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock, I assume, but rather somebody calling in and then the shop being able to deliver. So personally, I don't have an objection to that. The wider issue, and I assume, I'm sure it's an assumption, that you read the lengthy objection that I sent, was to the prospect of alcohol sales being taken earlier in hours to 7 o'clock in the morning on the Shepherd's Bush Road. Some 15 years ago, a whole group of residents came together, and at that time we used to actually meet in the council hall and objected because we were trying to stop any sale of alcohol before 11 o'clock in the morning, and that was successful. We were also very successful in removing all over-strength beers and ciders, so that the sale of 10, 11% white ciders and so on, that ended. But I'm aware that the local shops can now sell from 8 o'clock. I must have missed that one because we would have objected to that. And the basic premise, just so Sainsbury's know, and why we objected to 7 o'clock was because if Sainsbury's got it, then there was nothing to stop all other shops in the Shepherd's Bush Road who wished to apply for an early license for the sale of alcohol from 7 o'clock. But personally, and I speak only for myself, if it's 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock and it's by delivery only, then I can't see an objection on my part.
Thank you, James. Then is Karen here?
Yeah,
Sarah?
not in attendance.
Sarah? It seems those two residents are not here to do their presentation.
Sarah Richards is here.
Okay.
I'm not sure if she can hear us.
Oh, okay. Sarah? So how do we ask her to speak then, please?
If she can hear us, she's always welcome to run round to my house, which is a few doors away, and visit me here. And she can then come and use my computer instead.
Okay, unless somebody send her a message, then while we ask Councillor Daly to do her presentation, what do we suggest? What do legal?
Chair, we can move to the next person. Then, once the person is finished, we come back to you.
Okay.
Come back to you.
We move to Councillor Daly, the ward councillor. 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm sorry that my representation wasn't in the pack. I'd really appreciate it if it could be attached to the minutes. I have hoped that within it, I've given us sort of a broader view of the area and where Sainsbury's sits. The change of application has come a little bit too late for me to be able to speak to residents. And my role really is to represent some of those residents. I have spoken, in October, I spoke to quite a number, and I've spoken to residents since, and that there is just a blanket dread. There was a blanket dread about Sainsbury's getting an earlier license. Shepherd's Bush Road is the main conduit running from Shepherd's Bush to Hammersmith. It has 2 green spaces at either end, one Shepherd's Bush Green and the other Brook Green, and both areas are used for alcohol consumption and drug taking. And we have seen in the last year, 2 years, possibly, a marked increase in crime, criminal activity, and antisocial behaviour, mostly driven by people taking drugs and alcohol, consuming alcohol, and some of the PSPO, public space protection orders that's been removing people from the green has pushed that behaviour into surrounding streets. Shepherd's Bush Road is one of those roads that's really been affected. And I think it's really important that the committee kind of understands the time and the place that this application is kind of landing. It's also, I felt kind of necessary to point out that Shepherd's Bush Road is home to a number of St Mungo's hostels and a number of HMOs, which are kind of catering for and providing treatment for people who are undergoing kind of treatment for alcohol abuse. And I think for a lot of people, seeing the application from Sainsbury's seemed to be quite a cynical move, really, that you could understand that many people going to buy alcohol in the morning are either still consuming it from the night before or have a real problem and need to be drinking it from the morning. By providing a place for people to kind of go and buy alcohol, we're really kind of expanding those hours of which people face some of that harassment and some of that intimidation on the street from people who have consumed alcohol and have consumed drugs. And the antisocial behaviour isn't just doesn't just go away with the people. You know, that there are lots of residents who report people vomiting on their doorstep, urinating on the doorstep, even defecating on the corners. So we do have some real significant issues with alcohol and drug consumption in the area. And I would like the committee to bear this in mind when they're thinking about whether the application should carry or not. The second part of my objection was really in protection of some of those children who are travelling to and from school and out and about kind of early in the morning, you know, kids that are stuck at a bus stop waiting for a bus. I think the change to it being to 9 o'clock really sort of does kind of remove that objection, if I'm honest. But I would like the committee to continue to kind of consider the nuisance behaviours of people who would be buying alcohol at that time in the morning. Short one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have James. His hand is up. James, what's...
Yes, I raised my hand because I had to leave because Sarah did come round to my house in order to, she couldn't get through on her Zoom on her phone, to say that in the circumstances, she again agrees with what I said and Councillor Daly said, which was that given that the state has now made the change and will not be sending off the premises directly to people between 7 and 9, she doesn't have an objection to that. And therefore I continue with what I wanted to say, which is the wider objection, which I echo everything that Councillor Daly said, which is set out very clearly in the email that I sent to you, which is about
James, can I ask you, James, are you speaking on behalf of Sarah or
no, I speak on behalf of myself, but I had to stop in order
No,
to
because you
give
have
Sarah
got your
something to
5 minutes. I'm sorry. We can't.
I didn't have 5
Yeah,
minutes,
yeah,
and I had
your
Sarah
5
Daly.
minutes is over. Yes, I'm sorry. So we don't have Sarah here. And then I think
Can I just check that with legal counsel or with the clerk, because I had
I'm sorry,
to get somebody
James.
downstairs
I'm
and they
sorry,
came.
James. You have to stop. You have given you your 5 minutes, and once your 5 minutes is over, you can't speak more than that. I thought you are speaking on behalf of Sarah, but you are not. So,
I had to
and
leave in
Sarah
order to go
hasn't
and get
given you the
Sarah.
power to speak on her behalf. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask the applicant to speak now. I'm sorry. And the applicant, I'm giving you 15 minutes. So can we have the applicant, Mr. Roberts, to speak, the applicant's solicitor? Thanks.
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. And I won't take up the 15 minutes. Just a little bit of background. And to introduce Joanne Sergai, who is the licensing manager for Sainsbury's, who's with me. And we were both involved in the original application that James referred to when we first applied for a license here. And my recollection of it, I think it was back in it's a few years ago now, but my recollection is very much that we had a meeting with the police, and they told us, because we would normally go for a 7-Eleven license to match the opening hours of the store, and the police at a meeting told us that the residents had recently reviewed the other off licenses. I think there were 3 or 4 off licenses on the parade, and they had successfully achieved 11 a.m. Start times for alcohol, and also put high strength conditions on so that those off licenses couldn't sell high strength beer, lager, cider. And so the police asked us to amend our application, and my recollection is that we agreed to do that, and that's the reason why we have an 11 a.m. license at this location. And we also don't sell high strength, and we don't sell single cans. We have had some difficulties with the online service in that, and this gets a little bit technical. Emmanuel will be with me on this, but the moment of sale for an online sale is when the goods are appropriated to the contract. So when you set the goods aside. So we realized we had a difficulty at this store that if somebody was placing an order, we couldn't even process that order inside the store before 11 o'clock in the morning. And that's really what prompted this application. We met with the police, with Chris Cardwell and Nicole Sond, and they agreed that there were no particular issues with our store, and they were content with our application simply amending it to 7 a.m. To 11 p.m. and that's the basis on which we put the application in, and that's why there is no police representation here. We then received the representations from your licensing officer, and we sat down and we talked about it again to see how we could meet the concerns that have been made. And I've been down to the area, I've been into each of the off licenses, and it's fair to say you've now got a mix. You've got an 8 a.m. license there. You've got plenty of off licenses selling single cans and possibly high strength, and so it appears that that certainly the single cans are being sold in other stores. But we talked to the management of the store. I spoke to Joe, and we came up with this amendment, which allows us to process the online sales from 7 o'clock in the morning, but the actual sales within the store, so customers coming to store, wouldn't start before 9 a.m. So still unusual for a Sainsbury's store. The vast majority of Sainsbury's stores would have alcohol hours to match their trading hours. We're open here 7-Eleven, so we'll still have 2 hours when we can't sell alcohol. But we're content with that. And I believe that deals with all of the representations that have been received by you, because they are overwhelmingly concerned about us selling alcohol from 7 o'clock in the morning there. And we understand that. We understand the special reasons for that. And I'm grateful to James and Sarah who have agreed the application as modified, which actually only leaves us with Councillor Daly's representation as such, and even Councillor Daly, I think part of her representation is satisfied. I understand that she's not been able to take our amendment back to her residence, and so she's probably not in a position to formally withdraw. But we're very happy to answer any questions that you have. The reason we don't have additional conditions is that we've already got a very robust full set of conditions on this license from when we originally submitted it, and so there were no changes required from the police, and I don't think licensing had requested any further conditions. So you've already got a really good set of conditions on this license, and we'd welcome you to pop into the store. You'll see how we're operating there. So we're very happy to answer any questions. I hope that we've dealt with the concerns that are brought about this hearing. Joe, is there anything that you would like to add? We've probably got another 11 minutes, Joe. So you can
No, I haven't got anything to add, Robert. No,
Okay.
I think you covered everything. Obviously, happy to answer any questions if anyone's got any.
Okay. Thank you. So I presume you finished now. So can I ask committee members to ask questions of any party about application and the issues that has been raised at this hearing in relation to 4 licensing objectives? 1, prevention of crime and disorder. 2, public safety. 3, prevention of public nuisance. 4, protection of children from harm. So can I ask the committees to ask questions now? Okay, I have Councillor Stanton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you also everyone who's already spoken. I'm going to keep my questions as brief as I can. I only have really a couple. The first question actually is to licensing, and it's slightly, I guess, a procedural matter, which is this. Ordinarily, in the reports pack that we receive, there is a list of all the other licensees, or the licenses rather, in the surrounding area. And although we have the map, we don't actually have details of any of the licenses. And I was just wondering if you could explain that, please.
Yeah, just currently at the moment we have issues accessing the system, which pulls all the information, which is why it's omitted from the reports pack. However, if you got any questions about the surrounding areas, I can check them on the system.
Okay.
No, I think okay, that would have been perhaps helpful to know in advance, but now you've explained it. That's great. Thank you very much. Right, so this is a question to the applicant, which is this: unless I've misread the papers, the initial application or the variation referred to the opening hours or the licensable hours. It didn't really refer to the fact that the off sales were for deliveries, and so none of the residents made any comment about this. Now, I should say, having sat on quite a few of these hearings, very often a lot of the concerns that residents have isn't necessarily with relation to the sale of the good, but the delivery. So I wonder if you could perhaps expand just a little bit on what the online delivery system is that you have, by which I mean, when you say putting aside the goods between 7 and 9, is that for delivery between 7 and 9? And if so, what is the method of transportation that you use? And also, what is the sort of volume that you would anticipate between the hours of 7 and
9? Can you hear me again?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
Yep, okay. So the vast majority of licenses don't condition deliveries. We wouldn't expect licenses to it's an off sale, and so the Sainsbury's licenses do allow deliveries from the premises. The technical point that I was referring to is about the moment of sale. So the problem that we had, and so we don't expect to be delivering a great deal of alcohol between 7 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning. That's not the point of the application. But actually, in accordance with the Licensing Act, we can't even prepare the orders within the store and set them aside, because the moment of sale, according to the Licensing Act, is when we actually set aside. So we receive the order and we set aside the goods to be picked up at any time. The moment we set them aside, that's the moment of sale, and that's the law. And so that's the difficulty, that an order might come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we can't even work on it internally until 11 o'clock. Not that anybody would know, but we can't even set it aside and get it ready. So I wouldn't have thought we are expecting a high volume of delivery. Joe will know better than me between 7 and 9. This is more of a technical matter, that we do want to be able to process an order that comes in for delivery. And Joe will be able to talk to you about the different delivery agents and the manner in which we deliver. But we deliver already, so, and nobody's raised any concern about deliveries from the Sainsbury's store.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, we use the third-party delivery companies, Deliveroo, Just Eat, and Uber Eats. Depending on which operator operates in that area more, we will use that party. They usually courier on motorbikes. But as Robert said, it is more an operational issue than a volume, packing and selling at that time in the morning.
If I can just stop you for 1 second and say, Robert, thank you for that wonderful explanation. But I do actually understand the technical reason that you're doing this. My question wasn't really because of the technical reason. I'm trying to ensure that that the licensing objectives are held up, and that I have an understanding of what your processes are when we make the deliberations. So thank you. No, I do understand that. So I just wanted really to understand what the effect on local residents this might have.
Well, sorry, am I still on?
No, that wasn't really a question. I think you've all answered my question. Let's say what I was really trying to establish was, and you've answered the question, which is Just Eat, Deliveroo, and Uber Eats. Is the method of delivery that you do, and you would be anticipating making sales between the hours of 7 and 9, in addition to the ones that you're already making. That's fine. That really was what I was just trying.
But not necessarily delivery. So it's more about what we can do in the store. That's the point I was making.
Sorry. So when you say set aside, you don't mean set aside for a delivery.
Set aside, but whether it's delivered then at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, that's irrelevant for the purpose of the Licensing Act. It's the moment that we actually prepare the order. So we receive the order. Let's say we receive the order at 8 o'clock in the morning. At the moment, technically, we can't even work on that order. So put it into a bag, get it ready. I know you. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that order might not actually be delivered until it's going to have a negligible impact on the residents, and none of the residents have actually raised a concern about deliveries from Sainsbury's at any other time, and we don't expect this to have any impact at all on them.
Thank you, Chair. I think that's probably all of my questions for now. I might come back with some more later.
Okay. Any more question? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Ashwada.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so thank you very much. I wanted to go back to speaking to the residents who were present. Thank you very much, James, for being here, and Christina. Just to understand what your view is of the sort of last minute kind of change to the application, which is the introduction of a delivery only period from 7 to 9, which I understand would be to fixed addresses only, and then a sale that can happen in person from no longer 11 but 9 a.m. So I don't know, Christina, starting with you, perhaps.
Apologies, Councillor. Sorry, I'm not a resident. I'm in licensing.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
No worries. No, that's fine. Thank you.
Well, therefore, James, it seems that you're the only resident present. What are your views?
Yes, obviously spoken to a lot of residents in this area because I was probably responsible for putting together the document that many of them would have copied and sent in. The concern is, I mean, I can't see how one can object to 9 o'clock, given that the street, unfortunately, is already plagued with shops that now sell from 8 o'clock in the morning, or have a license to sell from 8 o'clock in the morning. And I think the difference between Sainsbury's, who I do regard as a responsible retailer in the road, is that they have often security at the door. They only sell in multiple packs, not in single packs, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not really concerned about Sainsbury's selling from 9 o'clock because there are others who could sell before then in any event to the street drinkers. I think I echo the point that I made, that Councillor Daly was also making. It's just a wider plague in the street. It's not the response. It's not so much people like Le Petit Citron or La Mijac who have evening licenses as restaurants or as wine bars. We're very supportive of that because it actually contributes to the life and the health of the community. It's more the fact that we are just absolutely plagued as parents, as residents, as local businesses by the drunkenness and the drug taking, etc., and then the sort of criminal activity that takes place on the Shepherd's Bush Road and then in streets like mine immediately off it. So our concern was when it said 7 o'clock in the morning was this was just beyond the pale, and I'm very glad therefore that Robert and his team and Joanna and people at Sainsbury's have seen sense on this and not sought to argue that point. I also get the technical reasons why they wish to do it. The wider issue, I suppose, is just again to echo what Councillor Daly said and what I said in my lengthy email, was just I hope that councillors on the committee do take into account just the appalling situation on the Shepherd's Bush Road when considering future planning applications, licensing applications in relation to alcohol. Evenings okay, good restaurants okay, responsible people like Sainsbury's okay, but all those people getting their alcohol from the street and then using it on the street, and we are the ones having to bear the costs, as are the police. And I know, speaking with the Safer Neighbourhood team at a meeting which Councillor Daly attended, this is a big concern for them too. I don't think in this particular situation that Sainsbury's being able to do online deliveries and prepare stuff for delivery from 7 to 9 will make any difference in selling from 9 o'clock. As I said, there are other shops who can sell earlier than them. I wish there weren't, but there are.
No, just to be 100%, and Councillor Daly, I'll come to you after. Just to be 100%, James, what you are saying to us is that in its current form, you think yourself and the other residents would be fine with it, but you would obviously take particular attention to future applications where we could again impose similar conditions or hours.
Yeah, there were two basic concerns. One was selling alcohol from 9 o'clock in Shepherd's Bush Road. It really, in my opinion, should be available for 11 o'clock. It solves a lot of problems, particularly with the traffic in the mornings of children going to and from schools. There are numerous schools here, as you know, and all the kids, including mine, we have seen everything you wouldn't wish to imagine a child seeing, thanks to the availability of alcohol in the Shepherd's Bush Road. But from 9 o'clock, we can't object to that because already there are other shops who are less responsible who can sell earlier, who are licensed to sell earlier.
Thank you. That is very helpful. And Councillor Daly, before I go over to you, Lorna and Christina, who I understand are both in the licensing department, please could you then pull up that list of nearby shops and in particular the hours from which they're allowed to sell alcohol? Because I think, as James has pointed out, I think we will all know in this room that it's more difficult without an enforcement history to impose a restriction upon one particular premises when others have similar hours. So whilst I go on to the councillor for a question and maybe some chatting, could you please look that up if that's all right? We don't necessarily need to know opening hours, but the hours from which similar businesses are allowed to sell alcohol, please, if that's okay. Yep, there. Councillor Daly, well, thanks for for speaking to us earlier. I think it's really helpful to get local councillors' inputs and views because obviously, like James, I think that you will have spoken to many people. So, you know, as councillors, we're not lecturing you about the role, but we're sort of ambassadors. What do you think your residents would think with the latest edition, and what do you yourself think?
Thank you for the question. This is quite difficult, and I do feel like I'm on the back foot because the change was made yesterday, and I absolutely have not had an opportunity to talk to people. Some residents feel that Sainsbury's is a bigger draw than some of the small kind of newsagent style premises that are on the Shepherd's Bush Road and that do serve alcohol earlier. and that by Sainsbury's sort of rolling out the red carpet for alcohol sales in the morning, that was a very different message, and that would be more of a draw. I couldn't say how they would feel about 9 o'clock. I just can't, and I'm sort of disappointed that I've been put in this position, if I'm honest. I think that yeah, I don't really want to make that call for people, which is really difficult. Residents have had a number of issues recently. We had a lot of problems with the pub opposite the Richmond over the summer, and some of those issues have now resolved, and things are better. People are very aware of the issues that poor licensing, if you like, sort of the impact that does have, and that is very much all about people drinking on the streets. It's not about people kind of taking alcohol home and drinking it at home. And I realise that there can't be an objection. What am I trying to say? I think I'm trying to say that if there were still restrictions in place, and that the alcohol wasn't sold to people calling into the shop until 9 o'clock, if it was expected to be taken home, if security were ensuring that nobody who was intoxicated was going into the premises. I think if there were some restrictions like this, people might feel reassured, and that might be one way of really sort of making a difference to this. But in general, I'm not that comfortable speaking for everybody who's talked to me in the last couple of months.
Thank you very much. I completely get that. So thank you very much. If the licensing team has the information, please feel free to interrupt. But otherwise, I wanted to speak to Robert and Joanne. This is around that sort of latest change, and it's sort of, I think you hear a sort of, we're almost disappointed in a way that change has been made so last minute, and it's sort of in response to the police, because maybe you were afraid they could make a representation and that would really affect the application, rather than maybe having made this concession following discussions with residents and the local councillor. Actually doesn't feel like you've engaged with the councillor about this change, etc. I mean, should you understand that disappointment a bit, and it's putting us on the back foot? What do you have to say to that? Could you have done a better job maybe of engagement and proposed that earlier?
Well, yeah, I don't think it was quite so last minute. We engaged with the police before we even submitted the application, and they are your experts in crime and disorder. And so we then received the pack with the representations. I'd have to check the dates, but we tend to get those quite late during the process. So it's not like we knew weeks ago that we had all these representations. We were taken by surprise by the 35 representations. We did think that, having consulted with the police, given the history that we had with the police a few years ago when we made the original application, we didn't think that this would necessarily go to hearing. And when we got the representations, we then tried to work out how we could deal with it. It actually needed me to go down to the premises as well. So I went down to meet with the store manager to try and work out what it is they actually needed, and bearing in mind the resident representations. And it was only after that I was able to take instructions from Joe and make the amendment. So there was nothing clever. I mean, I'm flattered that you might think that we were trying to do something clever. We weren't. We've absolutely gone through this in the appropriate way. I've also got the details. I think Lorna's probably got the details of the other licenses. I've got the details of the other licenses. I needed to do that homework as well. Once we'd seen the resident concerns, I've got the hours. I've been in. I've seen what they're selling. I've seen what the issues are in the area, and we came up with what we think is a really good compromise. So no, nothing clever. And I'm sorry if Councillor, I understand Councillor Daly's position because she's spoken to residents, but you've heard from James and you've heard vicariously from Sarah as well, as residents, that they're satisfied with the amendment that we've made to the application.
Thank you for that response. Yes, I mean, I understand that you've tried, but we only got this information on Monday, which is yesterday, about the change. So, as two experienced licensing agents, you understand how these things work probably better than I do, and so you would have known that this could have been made earlier, and actually you could have had a few residents say by email if licensing had time to get back to them and say whether they had their opposition still actually say that they would stand down. So it's a bit hard, you understand, for us to be able to assess whether 30 plus people agree with.
I don't really want to get into who did what and when, because I'd have to go into my emails, and you can see that sometimes emails that don't get to the right places at the right time. I'd rather not do that. We are where we are. We've made the amendment to the application in good faith, and I'm grateful to James and to Sarah for their understanding and their comments about the manner in which the store behaves. So I'd rather leave it like that rather than try to analyse precisely who did what and when.
You've exhausted your daily allowance of interrupting me, if that's all right. But yes, what I wanted to really emphasize, it really makes our work harder if we're unable to get residents' views and properly assess their opinions. But thank you very much, Robert. Lorna, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I've got a list of a few of the premises that are nearby on the road. So we've got 20 Shepherd's Bush Road. They have the sale of alcohol off the premises, Monday to Sunday, 10 a.m. till 11 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. till 10:30. There's 54 Shepherd's Bush Road, which is Monday to Saturday, 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. and then Sunday, 11 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. There is 86 Shepherd's Bush Road, which is Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. and Sunday, 10 a.m. till 10:30. There's also the Tesco's, which is a bit further down from Sainsbury's, which is 180 Shepherd's Bush Road, and they're licensed for the sale of alcohol off the premises Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. and Sunday till 10 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. And then just to refer to the Richmond Arms, which is opposite, which Councillor Daly mentioned, which is 55 Shepherd's Bush Road. They are licensed for the sale of alcohol on and off the premises, and they're licensed Sunday to Thursday from 10 a.m. till midnight and Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. till 1 a.m.
Thank you. That's really helpful information. So I just had one final question for Councillor Daly, who was raising her hand.
I'm sorry, Councillor Daly cannot speak until
she. I was going to ask her a question. So
okay, unless you want to ask her a question. Okay. Yeah.
Councillor Daly, what do you think of what you've heard from the applicant?
I think that Tesco's is in a different position. I think that Tesco's is kind of further down the road. And there's also 94 Shepherd's Bush Road, which has a license at the moment that is really restrictive, that goes till 10 p.m. For the off sales, I think, and starts much later. I think maybe 11 o'clock. So there are some real restrictions on alcohol down that road, and they're there for a reason, I guess. There is one newsagent that has an earlier license from 8 o'clock, and there is Tesco's, which is 8 o'clock, but 10 o'clock on a Sunday. But that's kind of further down, closer to Hammersmith, and doesn't kind of have the passing trade, isn't in such a residential area. And I'd just like the committee to kind of bear that in mind. But that's it, in fact. Although one thing that Robert said about the police not having any objections, I'd just like to draw your attention that James was mentioning that we met the Safer Neighbourhood team at the ward panel meeting in the middle of October, and they were not as positive as Robert perhaps suggested here. They were really concerned about it and really concerned on behalf of residents, and were quite animated and involved in the conversation that I had with residents at that point.
Okay, Lorna, you have your hand up. Do you want to speak? You want something to explain?
I just wanted to add, I did speak to the police licensing team that Robert is referring to, which is Chris and Nicole, and they didn't have any objection to the licence application. And also the Safer Neighbourhood team could also place a representation, which they have done in the past, but they didn't in this case, under the same process as well, just to clarify.
Thank you, Lorna. Do you have any more questions, Councillor? No.
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Robert, I just want to ask one thing, and that is, with the will selling alcohol from 7 a.m. will that increase? Will that how many sales are you expecting from that 7 o'clock in the morning?
Well, really, it'll be sales from 9 o'clock in the morning. Is that the question you're asking?
No, because you are asking to start sale of alcohol from 7 a.m. in the morning. So my question is, how many people are you wishing to sell from that time in the morning?
Well, it's more about, I'll go back to what I was trying to explain before. It's more about us being able to process any orders that we receive that from 7 o'clock in the morning. We don't expect to sell many. We don't expect to be completing deliveries, huge numbers of deliveries at that time. Joe will know more than me, but I don't think that's a busy time of day. It really is between 7 and 9 a matter that we can decide when we process the deliveries in the store. It will make no difference to people in the neighbourhood. The only material change I would submit is changing 11 a.m. to 9 a.m. And you've heard from residents who are satisfied with that. The police were satisfied with 7 a.m. And we're saying 9 a.m. So yeah, I'm not hearing any evidence that the sale of alcohol at this store from 9 o'clock in the morning is going to have a negative impact in the area. Okay. I can't give you. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you how much alcohol will be sold from between 7 and 9, the delivery, and I can't tell you precisely how much alcohol is going to be sold between 9 and 11. But these are not particularly busy times of day for a Sainsbury's local store.
Okay. I know, James, you have your hands up, and I'm going to allow you. It's time for summing up. So you wait for your time to sum up, because you cannot say anything. I haven't got question for you, and I haven't got question for. The question has been already asked by my committee members. So all I'm going to say is summing up. Please, can I have the licensing officer to sum up?
Yeah, I'll just add, Chair, that in the supplementary agenda that went out yesterday, I did clarify with Robert that the amendments that he did make to the application was that members of the public who were buying alcohol from the shop couldn't start at 9 a.m. and that the 7 to 9 a.m. they wouldn't be the sale to members of the public. It would just be for what he said to appropriate the alcohol for deliveries. So I'd just bear that in mind in making the considerations that the sale of alcohol to members of the public isn't going to take place between the hours of 7 and 9 a.m. It would start at 9 a.m. As mentioned in the supplementary, but I'm sure Robert can just confirm that in his summing up as well.
Okay, in that case, and can I have the objectors? James, you have 3 minutes to sum up, just 3 minutes. James.
Yeah, I think I said that I was under the impression that the shops in the street, and I'm sure maybe Councillor Daly was thinking of this too, were able to sell from early morning, from when they open. It's only now that we've had a clarification from Lorna that in fact most of the shops in the street can't sell alcohol before 10 o'clock in the morning, and some are later, and it's only actually Tesco's, I believe, that can. That's always been a slightly different thing for them, with their supermarket with heavy security and so on, and I believe one other shop. So suddenly we're seeing I hadn't realised this, the backsliding towards selling alcohol in Shelterbush Road earlier in the morning. So there's a material change in the information that we have been given there. In other words, it's not that everybody can sell from 8:30, it's actually everybody can sell from 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, except for one shop and the supermarket down the bottom. So in the circumstance, again, I think it's a matter for councillors to decide, but is it appropriate that a shop should be now being given effectively a green light to go and sell earlier, because if Sainsbury's starts selling at 9, you can be absolutely sure the others are going to come in and start asking for the same thing too. And I repeat, on behalf of the residents and everybody I've spoken to here, we just don't like the early morning sale of alcohol on the Shepherd's Bush Road because of the problems that particular road has, for the reasons that Councillor Daly set out and that I put out in my very extensive email to you.
Okay. I still have a minute. Do you still have something to say?
I'm sure I do, but I think it's best if I stop there and we come. Well, to one point, sorry, that Councillor Florian made. Yes, the nightmare about getting stuff at the very last moment is, had this been clarified earlier, and I understand that Mr. Bokai himself only may have got information at the last minute, is that I was supposed to be down tonight with my child to school, but I have taken the time off to be at home. And I think that applies to some parents, some people who weren't here this evening. They've actually gone and done what I should have done instead, and could have done had I had the information earlier. I might have withdrawn my objection or amended it. So timely receipt of information to make a decision upon is always welcome, and last minute is not.
Thank you. Okay, since we don't have Karen and we don't have Sarah, can I ask Councillor Daly to sum up 3 minutes?
Thank you, Chair. I would just ask the committee members to consider whether selling alcohol at 9 o'clock in the morning is suitable for a road with, you know, as I said, it has the HMOs there, it has St Mungo's. We have a lot of vulnerable residents who are in treatment for alcohol abuse, I guess, and whether allowing Sainsbury's and you know, as kind of James says, opening up the street for a kind of accepting that the alcohol will be 9 o'clock, and what does feel like a bit of a creep earlier is the right thing to do right now. Councillors, you have the inboxes the same size as mine, full of people really concerned about the kind of the escalation in alcohol and drug use, criminal behaviour, antisocial behaviour on our streets at the moment. It's something that the administration is really taking a keen focus on. We have a number of PSPOs that seek to prevent people from drinking alcohol on the street, and they are there for a reason. The PSPO that bans alcohol consumption on the street was supported by 90% of residents. So I'd just like you to really sort of consider whether this is within the kind of the restrictions that we're bringing in at the moment, or whether it's just much more permissive, and whether it may just open, as James says, open a kind of the floodgates for everybody to apply for licenses to open earlier or to sell alcohol earlier. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask the Robert, you have 6 minutes to sum up. Robert, you have 6 minutes. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I was doing so well as well. I was mid-flow. I was convinced the cat was impressed. Right. So there are some misapprehensions. More Superstore, MOORE at 86 Shepherd's Road, is licensed from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, Monday to Saturday, and 8 a.m. 10:30 Monday to Saturday. In the representations from residents, and you can, if you look at page 49, for example, there may be others as well. A resident says, in view of this situation, I object to the license being granted for the sale of alcohol before 8 o'clock, 0800. Okay, for the following reason. Then he or she sets out the reasons why they object to the sale of alcohol at this location before 8 o'clock in the morning. We've had regard to all of this, and we've changed it to 9 o'clock in the morning. I think everybody has now understood what we're doing between 7 and 9 in the morning, but we've gone beyond what the residents have asked us to do in their representations. We've gone beyond what the police were prepared to agree, and it's wrong to say that the neighbourhood police have got great concerns about this application. They would have been able to put a submission in, a representation. The police are your experts on crime and disorder. we met with them, we went through it, they've looked at the way that the store performs and has done over a number of years. Sainsbury's, in good faith, amended the application all those years ago because of the work that the residents had done. We didn't fight to get a 7 o'clock or even a 9 o'clock license. We agreed with the police that we would only go for the 11 o'clock license. We've operated without concerns being raised by the police. They're satisfied with 7 o'clock, but we've gone with 9 o'clock. Residents, many of the residents were asking for 8 o'clock in the morning. Then there's the comments about opening the floodgates. No, it doesn't. Every application must be dealt with on its merits. So if another license holder comes to you asking for the same hours that we've got, the residents would have the opportunity to object based on the merits of that particular case, and you would decide that decision on that particular application. So it's not correct to say that the grant of this variation would open the floodgates. So I hope that we've dealt with all of the concerns that have been raised. And again, I'm grateful to James for spending the time this evening, and to everybody concerned, and to Lorna, because I've been corresponding with Lorna and checking the licenses and the times in the area, that we had the right information to put to you. So I'd be grateful if you'll grant the application as amended. And if you have any further questions, we're very happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, the committee will now retire and take its decision in a separate room. You are welcome to remain in the meeting to hear committee's decision. However, this might take some time. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on Council's website tomorrow morning. Can I ask all members to turn off their video, mute their microphone, and join me in the Teams for deliberation? Thank you. Oh, shit. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sainsbury, 48 to 50 Shepherd's Bush Road, London, W6 7PH, the premises. The committee has considered an application to vary the hours for the sale of alcohol off the premises under the Licensing Act 2003. The application, in summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of 4 licensing objectives, to 1, grant the application as follows. Sale of alcohol off the premises Monday to Sunday from 7 o'clock to 23 hours. 2, add the following conditions to the existing license. 1, the sale of alcohol between the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. shall be by delivery only. 2, deliveries shall be made to a building which is used for residence or work purposes. Deliveries shall not be made to outdoor space. This license becomes operational with immediate effect. If problems are experienced, then an application for review of the premises license shall be made. A copy of the committee's full decision, including its reasons and the full text of the condition added to the licensing, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicant or the person who has made a relevant representation is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the magistrate court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and that's the end of this here.